I'm 37 years old and I am once again 6 months no pornography of any sort. I've done this before. In 2017, I made it 6 months or a little bit more with no porn, and it was a good experience. But eventually, for a variety of reasons that I'm going to discuss in this video, I found myself watching pornography again and going back down that spiral. And we'll chat about why I think that happened, and we'll give a little bit of context as to my relationship with porn. But the good news is that I, again, am 6 months free of all pornography. And for me, I feel much, much better and more aligned with my true self in having done this and having ditched pornography. But my motives for ditching the pornography this time seem completely different. I think it'd be worth mentioning that I do not sit here on some sort of pedestal or platform thinking I'm any better or I've discovered anything more important than anyone else. I am speaking specifically to my own experiences and how I think and feel today, but I don't stand in judgment of a single soul. I mean that with all my heart. I hope you know. My background with pornography, I imagine, is very, very similar to a lot of people's background with pornography. I was exposed at a very young age to pornography. I loved it. I thought it was great, and I sought it out. When I was in middle school, there was a website called newpick.com, and I still remember going over to a friend's house and going to this website the entire time we were there. It was our favorite thing to do. You would click a button and a new pic would come up, back when it was just mostly pictures, back when the internet for me at that time, because I'm 37, so I was born before the internet. You would download a picture and you would wait for it to dial up, end up on your screen. I digress. It's hardly important. But I sought after pornography a lot when I was a kid, like I imagine a lot of kids did, in the forms of magazines, to videos, to Napster and LimeWire and FrostWire, whatever, downloading videos. I spent a lot of time and effort and energy pursuing pornography. I really, really did. Somewhere in that journey of constantly seeking out porn, and I could tell you a bunch of war stories about porn. I don't know that it's important, but just know that I've gone to some pretty solid lengths to access it when I was younger, prior to it being so accessible now. But somewhere down the line for me, when it came to porn, I started to experience guilt, an internal sense of shame and guilt over watching and consuming so much pornography. I had a girlfriend in high school of 5 years. We started dating at the tail end of 8th grade. She was my childhood sweetheart, and we stopped dating when I was 19 into the first year of college. And she caught me looking at porn a couple of different times in a variety of ways, search history stuff. And I still remember the shame associated with that. It's something I think I just normalized, though. Didn't think I was necessarily doing anyone any harm. It's my own personal thing. So I continued to watch porn a lot, regardless of being in a relationship or not. There was something about it that was always very secretive, though. And that secretiveness, I do think, played into a bad tendency of mine to hide and to sneak. And this maybe dives into addiction issues because I'm a recovering alcoholic. But let's just say alcoholism and mass porn consumption, they have more in common for me personally than maybe I would have previously thought had I not carefully looked at it from a bird's eye view. There was something exciting and fun and ritualistic about looking at porn, but there was also something as I got older and I continued to consume it more that was very unfulfilling. It'd be one of those things that I would achieve climax and then instantly not feel good about myself. Perhaps you've been there, fellas, I'm assuming, where you finish looking at porn, you've had your orgasm, and then you instantly just need to shut it off. Stop the noise, stop watching it. And that instant relief is followed by some pretty legitimate disdain. You're just like, ugh, ugh, ugh. An internal signal for me that I was happy to ignore as often as possible. I'm a pleasure seeker historically, maybe still. I'm just trying to be more aware of how that manifests in my life. But I seek pleasure, and I often seek pleasure in excess. When this isn't mediated by guardrails of purpose, I can get lost in pleasure seeking, and porn fit really, really nicely into that, and so did getting drunk for me. And as I've tried to grow up and grow out of childlike behaviors, I've always had this sense that maybe I should stop watching porn so much. I think at the peak of my pornography consumption, it was absolutely daily. And I think I was probably getting relief just about daily from pornography. And this is in the midst of being in a happy relationship, or at least as happy as I was capable of creating back then, let's just say in my 20s. So just imagine I'm a dude who watches porn. I don't watch it so often that I think like, whoa, this is like a weird issue, but I watch it often enough where I'm like, damn, I wish I didn't do this so much. And in 2017, I saw a TED Talk, and a guy was very nicely describing why pornography negatively impacts the mind, and how it impacts the mind, and how it takes away from intimacy in an actual real life relationship, and how it makes it harder to enjoy and experience intimacy in that relationship. And he basically did a wonderful job, and I'll put the link in the description because it was important for me back then, and maybe it would be impactful for you to explore. But he painted a very attractive picture as to why it would be beneficial and ultimately satisfying and enjoyable to let go of pornography. And I was on a kick. I was sober at the time, and I was on this big kick of growth and wellness, a trend of mine when I get sober. So I decided to give up pornography. First couple of weeks were hard. They really were, because I had become very fixated on that pleasure-seeking behavior. And so I almost think I was withdrawing from it to some degree. But eventually I found a good rhythm. I didn't have it. I thought my sex life improved with my wife and my relationship. I really bought into the pros of it all. And that was great. But then I got back into drinking because I'm someone, which is an unrelated part of this video, but I'm someone who has an issue with alcohol, very much so. I'm an alcoholic in recovery. And so if I'm active in my addiction, one addiction feeds another addiction. One poor behavior for me feeds another unfulfilling behavior. Might be a better, less judgmental way of saying that. And so I eventually got back into porn, stopped talking about it here, whatever, experiment. And this fast forwards me to, let's say, a little over 6 months ago. I'm growing older. I'm doing worse than ever. I'm drinking every single day, getting drunk every single day. I'm struggling with commitments. I'm struggling with my marriage. I'm struggling with my finances. And as pertains to the topic of this video, I once again am watching a lot of porn. But this time, I can really tell that I'm seeking pain relief with pornography. What I was prone to do was get drunk every night, even when I didn't want to, especially then. And then sometimes I would wake up in such discomfort from my hangover, such legitimate discomfort, that I would early in the morning take my phone upstairs. My wife, my beautiful wife, whom I truly adore, asleep in bed downstairs, and I would watch porn and try to get off just so I could feel something good. Just so I could feel a moment of something good, because I was in so much pain, both from a physical standpoint in that I was detoxing from binge drinking, but also from an emotional and spiritual standpoint. I was just in a lot of pain over 6 months ago. And porn was a way of feeling a little bit less pain, but it created more pain. Because for me, every time I was ingesting porn, knowing the things that I know about the industry, learning the things that I had learned, having been made aware of not just the benefits for me, but just the whole industry as a whole, how damaging it can be, I felt disconnected from my authentic self watching porn so much. And I knew it. And I tried to put this off. And there's a whole nother side story about my own jumping into the porn industry, or at least the sex industry. I had an OnlyFans account, by the way. I was putting out content. I got involved in it, and I tried to tell myself that the world was wrong. Like, whatever this voice is in me that was begging me to not do this, it was something society had put in me, and it was this overly conservative upbringing of others projected. I was trying to convince myself that it wasn't real, that the real me and the real world and actually free and happy people loved and consumed pornography. We were the free ones. That was the way my brain worked. A bit of a tangent there, but suffice it to say, I don't think that was my truth. I think that was my want. Deep down, especially at the end of my addiction, I knew that my relationship to porn was shitty. And my relationship to self was shitty, and I was experiencing a sense of being lost and deeply disconnected from my purpose and from who I thought I was. And my cycle of shame builds on itself. So when I do a shameful behavior, as far as what I think is shameful for me, I tend to do more shameful things on top of it. It doesn't seem to go the other way until it does. And so I, by the grace of God, was able to get sober again. And with that sobriety came a tremendous sense of humility. Being as lost as I felt this last time around in active addiction, let's say to porn and to alcohol, I came in very, very scared and very humbled, and wanting to do things differently, wanting to no longer think I knew what was best for me, and wanting to make decisions not just based on like, look what popular science is teaching us, and look how the brain works, and look at all this tangible information, but wanting to also incorporate that part of me that was screaming inside to live with more integrity, to live with more purpose, to see what would happen if I stacked esteemable behaviors on top of one another. What would be the impact on my self-esteem? Because my self-esteem was shattered, and pornography was a huge piece of that self-esteem run riot, that self-esteem being gone. My self-pride was non-existent. And so while I appreciated understanding that if I gave up pornography, likely I would have more attraction to my wife, and it would stimulate a more authentic and organic, intimate experience with a real live person. I knew all that sciencey stuff, and that was great. But this time, letting go of pornography one day at a time, hand in hand with alcohol, I wanted it to be more about being true to myself, and I wanted it to have more to do with a budding desire to develop a God consciousness. I wonder if by even saying that I've potentially turned some of you off. Talking about me trying to cultivate a relationship with God has always been something that made me insecure. It's always been something that's made me insecure because I didn't want anyone to judge me. It seems interesting to me that I never feared those that have a relationship with God, a God of their understanding, mind you, any God. I never feared their judgment, but I've always been afraid, particularly on an online platform, to come across as unreasonable, to come across as crazy, as if saying the words out loud, I want a closeness and a connectedness to a God of my understanding, to a higher power, made me so. But I look at my relationship with alcohol and porn and people and things prior to an earnest attempt to connect with a higher power, and that to me seems crazy. And so one of the things that has come up for me personally in this round of getting sober and wanting to live a more authentic life and to do away with behaviors that were causing me so much pain was that I don't know what's best for me. It was this realization that I don't think I really know what's best for me. And I think there's been a voice inside of me, call it a God consciousness, call it a moral compass, call it an axiom of right and wrong. There's been something inside of me that I've been happy to ignore when it was convenient, but very afraid of ignoring in general. And it's something that I take very serious now on a day-to-day basis. I I associate going against that voice now very much with old me, with a line of thinking and a way of behaving that has all the potential in the world to lead me back to an old life it's just 6 months ago, but that life sucked. It really hurt. And I see the two as being hand in hand. I see pornography now not just being something that I do think ethically doesn't sit well with me, but spiritually doesn't sit well with me either. And it's really, really helped me put it in its right place. Something I used to do after I would watch porn is I would look in the mirror and I hated what I saw and specifically what I didn't see looking back at me. I didn't see someone I respected, and I hadn't looked into the eyes of a man I respected for a very long time. And maybe that sounds dramatic, but I think it sounds dramatic because it is. I think that disconnect from my spirit, I think that disconnect from my authentic self and from a God consciousness, I think it really, really manifested itself well in emptiness in my eyes and emptiness in my behavior and my experience in this world. I hated looking myself in the mirror. It broke my heart. It made me sad. I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything at all at the end of my drinking and the end of my daily, it seemed like, porn consumption. I didn't see a man I was proud of. I didn't see values. I didn't see integrity. I didn't see authenticity. I just saw sickness and pleasure seeking and loss. I saw fear. I saw pain. I saw agony, anxiety. It was terrible because I deserved better. And thank goodness these last 6 months, I have been given a chance to reestablish who I think I really am. And it's been under the umbrella of a relationship with a higher power. It's been under the umbrella that the wisdom of yesteryears and the collective wisdom of men and women who have gone before me from a recovery standpoint, which makes it a little easier for me personally, to just follow that wisdom and to stop assuming that I know what's best for me and to be willing to take action and to reassess things, pretend I don't know anything and start over. It's been amazing for me personally. As vague as that might sound, it's been incredible. And I haven't looked at pornography a single time in the last 6 months, and I've only been tempted a few times in the last 6 months. But what I think about when that temptation comes is I think about looking myself in the mirror and thinking about the commitment I have to my wife as her husband and the commitment I have to myself, being my best self and putting my values and letting my actions speak for themselves. When I think about the pride I feel and walking a path that seems God-centered and good for me, it makes it so easy to avoid that temptation and to continue to pursue passion instead, and to see how well I sleep at night, to see how fulfilling my relationships are, to see how much more alive I am becoming as a result of these behaviors that are being suggested to me. It just feels right. And it's a lot of work. Sure, I put in daily effort into trying to live a different lifestyle, but it's not because of me. It's literally just because of a pretty honest reflection on what was and what I don't want anymore. I was fucking miserable before, and I feel much better now. And I'm just trying to live my life that way. And it feels good and it feels right. And I cannot tell you what peace of mind is worth to me. My peace of mind is everything to me. And yes, just like what I learned before, my relationship and my intimacy and my attractive draw to my wife has improved. Go figure. Get rid of that pornography and how it impacts my neurochemistry for sure. But my relationship to my higher power and to my true self and the calmness I feel, that's improved dramatically as well. And that's something I never considered before. And it's just not something I wanted to address or look at before. But pain and suffering has led me to that place. And I hope I've expressed this in a way that was non-threatening. I hope I've expressed this in a way that was easygoing, because I just have a willingness in me to do whatever it takes to be different than I was before. And so for me, I have prayer life now, and I have actions that I never had before that I was afraid to talk about, that still make me nervous, but that I want to talk about. And I just wanted to share that with humility and respect. This is what's working for me today, and it feels right in my soul. And honoring that internal feeling is very, very important to me. And I know for today that drinking and looking at porn have no place in my life. They don't add value, and I see the two mutually connected. I see drinking and porn as connected. And so if I'm someone who's ingesting that stuff, I think it is part of a behavior that's going to lead me to other pleasure-seeking behaviors that I think are going to take me away. They'll take me away from myself first, mentally and emotionally, and eventually physically. So that's a lot. And I hope it went okay. I hope I did this in a good way. And I really appreciate you guys listening. And in the comments below, please let me know what are your experiences with porn. Is it something that you can find a balance with? And if so, why do you think that is? And if you're someone who feels better off of it, why do you think that is? I know one of the main comments I got before was like, this guy's married, so of course it's easy to not look at porn. And that's fair. I think that's a funny comment, and I understand the angle from which it derives. But I'd be remiss to say that everyone would benefit at least from a break from pornography. I think you learn a lot about yourself. I know I've learned a lot about myself and what my real drives are and my real sense of purpose and all of that. I think everyone could benefit, just like I think everyone could benefit from a break from alcohol or drugs, even if they're not addicts or alcoholics. Now, again, this is just my experience, and I don't know what's best for you, I promise. And I don't judge anyone. I mean that with all my heart. I would never want someone to leave this video being like, fuck this guy. He's way too judgmental. Look at him on his high horse. This all comes from so much self-created pain and misery. It's not even funny. This is just where I'm headed now, and it feels right within my heart, and I'm going to honor that. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Check in with me in the comments below, and know that I appreciate you and I respect you, and I thank you for taking time with me. We'll see you guys in the next video. My name is Noah. If any of you want to chat with me, first link below, schedule a time. It's a paid service. We can talk over video conferencing, and it helps support me and my family. All right, guys, I appreciate you. One day, 1 hour, 1 minute at a time. We can get through whatever we're going through, and we can do it together. I promise. Take care.